This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
The Red Apple Media Podcast Network presents This is Protecting America. Now, here's Emmy-winning journalist Rita Cosby.
Welcome to another edition of Protecting America. I'm Rita Cosby. Well, the election is only days away, and so much is at stake. From border security, the wars overseas, and the economy. And as we near the big election finish line, the rhetoric from Democrats is really ratcheting up. From calling Trump supporters garbage to Hitler to Nazis and so much more. And joining us now to discuss what is on the line for our country is Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff, the 2024 campaign executive director for Veterans for Trump. Jessie Jane, it is so great to have you here. What is your reaction, first off, to this horrible vitriol coming from President Biden and also from Kamala Harris and others as we are nearing the election finish line?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Rita, because this issue, obviously, a lot of people thought of me first because the mere fact that I'd served in the United States Marine Corps. I mean, everybody knows that I had to be strong and I had to be intelligent to make it. But you ask my reaction. You know, my initial gut is just gotten so desensitized to the left and their flame throwing, and I have to put myself in a frame of mind now to punch back. I don't get upset the way I should because it's become so common that I would think many Americans, just like myself, are not paying a lot of attention to this rhetoric because of the mere fact that we know who President Trump is. We had 4 years of him being president. We saw inflation at record lows. We saw wages at 8% higher than they are today. They went up 8%, I should say. Under Kamala Harris, they have gone down 3%. We have seen just auto insurance, for example, is 54% higher since the Biden-Harris administration took charge than it was under President Trump. We are looking at food prices over 22% higher than what they were under President Trump. Baby food close to 30% higher. Every single item on our shopping list cost us more than it did under President Trump. Let's not forget, just trying to buy a home now with a 7% interest rate. We had record low interest rates under President Donald J. Trump. So when Mark Cuban says things like this, you know, I had to respond. I put out a tweet, and the campaign even retweeted it because I am the executive director of Veterans for Trump. President Trump picked me for this job. And I had to just go back at Mark Cuban and ask him, Mark, so are you suggesting that I am not strong or intelligent? I served 20 years on active duty and retired a gunnery sergeant from the United States Marine Corps. And I dare to say he wouldn't ever be able to respond to that. But about 4 hours ago, he tried to post a rebuttal to what he said to try to clarify. And he tried to water those words down. But you can't change the exact quote of what he said, that President Trump does not want to surround himself around strong or intelligent women. And he pauses and says, ever. So let's go back to 1980, where he had picked Barbara Ross, ROS, who became the first woman to be basically the architect to design a skyscraper in New York City. She was 31 years old, and he made her the head of the construction, and she ended up working with President Trump 18 years. That is just one example, but that was an era when few women, if any, let alone a woman being placed in charge, had that opportunity. And to go on, his legal team has magnificent women. The campaign headquarters is filled with women. Heck, the woman running the campaign this time, Susie Wiles, female. Let's look at 2016, the first campaign ever to win and go into the White House run by a woman, Kellyanne Conway. That was President Trump's choice. That was who he picked. He's not afraid of picking a first. He is not afraid of picking a smart or intelligent woman because he has understand in business. He looks at all Americans as having the opportunity to reach their full potential, and that is how you profit off of all of our talents. He loves women and their capability in communication. If you notice, his communication directors have been women because they are so quick on their feet, capable, smart, people like you, Rita, people like me. We know how to get that message out and delivered hard, and we're not afraid of slapping back on the left. So, his comments are quite upsetting, but yet I've sadly grown to expect this from Kamala Harris, and I dare to say most Democrats are even ignoring it.
Kamala Harris has said, he's a tyrant, he's a dictator. Then we also heard from President Biden, who said Trump supporters are garbage. He tried to, put the apostrophe in a different place. But what did you think of those remarks?
Oh, my goodness. They're the best people to run against because they can't help themselves. They keep throwing an albatross around their own necks so that their campaigns can sink. From a campaign's perspective, they're making this quite apparent, and we should all be blessed as Americans to say, thank you for taking your mask off and showing us who you really are. Yes, these remarks are offensive, but from a perspective of winning this election, it is something that I'm absolutely grateful that they're showing Americans exactly who they really are. What is it that Maya Angelou had said? When people show you who they really are, believe them. When President Biden said that we are garbage, and then he tried to change the context to refer to the comedian, there was no way, if you listen to the quote, that it was singular. He was speaking about all of us. That is how they truly feel, that we are garbage to support this man because they have such a vile and distorted view of him. Mind you, he had worked with Democrats, including Hillary Clinton. Bill and Hillary Clinton were at his own wedding. So let's just say when he married Melania Trump, does that mean they attended Hitler's wedding? If you're going to take their own rhetoric, because everything pivoted when he no longer associated with them because he knew that they were profiting off of the American people for those political favors and positioning that they had basically capitalized off of. Never forget when he was inaugurated in 2016, and I'm sure you remember this well too, he stood in front of that audience and all the sitting presidents other than George Bush Sr. was not there. As I recall, Jimmy Carter also may not have been there because of their age. But the others were sitting back and their jaws were clenching. They were getting tight. The Clintons, the Bushes, Obamas, because he said that everybody who has left this office has profited off of this office, off of you. And I am here now to represent you. And they all had, particularly the Obamas, who did not come from any amount of wealth. The Clintons had been profiting off of politics for decades. And then, of course, we do know the Bushes had wealth, but it only got bigger when they capitalized off of it. And he said, they're not after me. Now, since then, he said, they're not after you. They're not after me. They're after you. I'm just in their way. He has dodged every bullet, literally and figuratively, that they have thrown at him, because he has this fortitude and tenacity that very few people that we have ever seen in the political realm have. And he's fearless because he knows what he is doing is right to save this country.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
President Trump had a very powerful message, too, this week. He said, in response to some of these comments that have come at him, he said, "How can you lead America if you don't love Americans?" I thought that was a powerful line.
Absolutely. They have continually tripped all over themselves because they're so threatened by him that instead of focusing on the issues that they should have policies to resolve, which apparently they don't, all they have is name calling and demonizing President Trump and or his supporters or all of the above. That is all they have, because if they had a message of winning for all Americans, remember when Barack Obama came along, I didn't believe a thing he was saying, but he was able to deliver a message that people wanted to believe. I saw socialism all the way going down the tracks. He said he was going to fundamentally change and transform America. What was wrong with America that you have to fundamentally change it? This is the country that has given us the greatest freedoms and opportunities compared to any other country in the world, bar none. Otherwise, people wouldn't be clamoring to try to get here. But the fact was, he was able to message Kamala Harris and Tim Walz cannot fundamentally offer anything. They have no message other than to blast Donald Trump and blame Donald Trump as if he has been in that White House the last 4 years. She has literally said for the last 10 years we have been fighting President Trump. What are you talking about? You're going into your fourth year in the White House, for that matter. Not only that, we have seen record numbers of illegals come over the borders. And while Mark Cuban is trying to say that women who Donald Trump does not have smart or strong or intelligent women around him, he needs to look right at the woman he is supporting. Over 91% of her staff has quit working in that White House since she started as vice president. That tells you she has not been able to hang on to smart and capable women. They recognize that she is a difficult person. Not only that, what about these illegals, the criminal illegals that have come over and raped and murdered women? Kamala Harris has offered nothing for American women, let alone children, because her own DHS has lost over 3,200 children. I'm sorry, yes, 300,000, over 300,000 children have been lost by DHS. And those children are not necessarily with their mothers right now, potentially being sex trafficked, human trafficked, given into slave labor, or even possibly dead. So what has she done for women? And that is not a strong or intelligent woman. We know she doesn't even have a coherent thought. So Mark Cuban should be ashamed of himself. He needs to look at the mirror into what he is supporting. And I just have to say, when he was working with the Dallas Mavericks, how many years of sexual harassment got exposed. And it wasn't until a reporter, I believe it was Sports Illustrated, finally wrote an article about it that Mark Cuban had to address the problem with the Dallas Mavericks. So I don't think that he understands what it is to respect women, let alone appreciate the smart and talented women that are out there that can make any organization more effective and efficient.
You talked about a border, and I'm glad you brought up the fact of these 300,000 plus missing kids, because Democrats always say, okay, they're the party of family, they're the party of women, kids, and yet they never mention that. They also never talk about the other victims of horrible crime by migrants. I mean, I think of Lake and Riley and Jocelyn Gunnery. Their parents have said they haven't heard from this White House. Isn't that, it's almost unconscionable.
It is unconscionable because they can't face the reality that their policies have created the death and destruction that we have seen imposed upon not just our American citizens, but look at our own U.S. military. Never mentioning the names of the 13 Gold Star families. I don't think they've ever said the names of the 3 National Guards family that were killed in Jordan by the Iranian-backed Houthi drone. So when you look at people that don't want to be held accountable, of course, they have to turn the other cheek, continually spew Donald Trump's name to put all blame upon him for their lack of effectiveness. They turned around, reverse reversed every single executive order that was in place to keep the country safe. I dare to say, and I've said this several times on the air, I dare to say 80% of the Democrats out there that voted for Joe Biden did not think they were going to get over 20 million illegals in this country, be on the verge of war in the Middle East, ensure that the Ukraine and Russia fiasco war is still going, didn't vote for higher rates of inflation, lower wages, looking at this country from a lens where 300 Americans a day are dying from fentanyl drug overdoses. I think what they voted for was to keep things the same. They didn't think that Joe Biden would come in and reverse all of the policies and create mass havoc. They didn't think Kamala Harris was going to enable him and turn the other cheek to the obvious cognitive decline that he was demonstrating. So now they're all waking up realizing, gee, if you change leadership, it means you're going to lose the policies that you're supporting. To think that we would still have the same policies, but just get rid of the guy with the mean tweets was ignorant and naive. They've reversed just about every single thing other than the China tariffs, which J.D. Vance gave Joe Biden credit for not reversing, because that's the one thing that helped salvage the few American jobs that are still left in this country versus being exported to China. But I would say that Kamala Harris has enabled so much destruction that when she's out there, along with Tim Walz, they cannot defend anything. There's no green pasture to look at. There's no success for them to look at. Even her record as a prosecutor is dismal with people she prosecuted unfairly and unjustly. And you have to ask, what is she actually running on? She's running on the hatred of Donald J. Trump. And that includes her surrogates and the sitting president, who are going to call us garbage. They're going to say Trump is Hitler or claim we are Nazis or whatever slogan, slang term they want to give us. But American people know better, because Trump supporters are from all races and genders. We have now the Arab community in Michigan backing Donald Trump. The largest community of Arabs in the nation is located there. Jewish Americans support Donald Trump. And let's not forget, before you call him Hitler, he is expecting an Arab grandchild with his daughter Tiffany, and he has Jewish grandchildren with his daughter Ivanka. So, kind of an odd profile for somebody they want to call Hitler.
You brought up, obviously, Jewish support, and I agree, he has been just so incredibly supportive of the Jewish population. What do you think is going to happen with the Jewish vote this go round? Because, boy, has Kamala Harris been flipping and flopping on so many points, Jessie Jane.
Sadly in politics, some people are embedded with their political party beyond the recognition of what we thought it was maybe 20 years ago. And often it's about power and money. And when people of any religious group or racial group or gender, for example, are hardliners for a particular party, I would dare to say to check the purse strings as to where they are doing their business, how they're doing business. There are people that have often been very, very lazy with illegal immigration because they have profited off of illegal immigration. Before Kamala Harris even was in office, it was a $10 billion industry. So you can imagine how much money is being made today. J.D. Vance even said that he had spoke with a man before he even considered running for office. He had a dialogue with a hotel chain CEO who said Donald Trump did not like Donald Trump because he had made it very difficult for him to be able to hire low-wage workers because he was hiring illegals. So when you come to the Jewish population, it has been in their face that the left has remained utterly quiet with the attacks of Jewish students in the universities that we witnessed right here in the United States. The horrific tolerance that the left had for this, where they were essentially the party of the Hamas, the Democrat Hamas leaders, because they felt it was appropriate to harass, degrade, and scream at Jewish students and then insist and demand, damage property to top it off, hold people hostage in one case, as we have talked about before, and not only that, insist that these universities divest from any engagement with Israel. And we didn't hear anything from the White House. We heard nothing from but a few Democrats there in New York. Torres was one. He was very outspoken. God bless him for that. But you didn't hear anything from the Rashid Tlaib, the Ilhan Omar, and others of that pressure. And many Jewish Americans have recognized that the Democrat Party has not supported them. We have a president that is going to insist upon peace in the Middle East. He is the reason the Abraham Accords passed, which many people have forgotten, but they must remember when Iran was raining terror upon Israel, targeting them. Just a few months ago, it was the UAE, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia that came to air defense for Israel, and that was because of the Abraham Accords. Had we not had the Abraham Accords, they would not have supported Israel, but it is a requirement of that treaty. So Jewish Americans, I would dare to say, like Black Americans, Latino Americans, gay Americans, Jewish Americans, Arab Americans, many of the voting blocs that the Democrat Party has pretty much leaned on and done little for are shifting because they understand the Democrats have only said, we care about you in name only. They've done nothing to help those groups prosper, benefit, and live freely as all Americans should. They have basically siphoned a lot of the Black community from being able to be emboldened with financial security with the ridiculous economy that we have, low-income whites, middle class. Everybody is suffering other than the elites, the billionaires. They don't know that groceries are higher. They don't know that gas is higher, and their kids are never going to have to go to a war. So now guess what? There are more of us than there are of them. And our vote is equal to a billionaire vote. So if we've got more votes than they have, we will get our country back.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
And finally, Jessie Jane, I think I know what the answer is on this one. Obviously, the election only a few days away. Are you feeling optimistic? Everybody in the campaign, I spoke to the president. It's been a little bit over a week or so ago. He sounded positive. Do you feel that you and the team there can make America great again and will get elected in a matter of days?
Well, I will say avoid the naysayers on Twitter because this is not 2020 again. This campaign, the RNC, which everybody seems to blast, but they don't understand President Trump runs the RNC, has had more legal teams going out there to watch every single indiscretion from the point that they start the early voting all the way to Election Day. We are calling it out. We are addressing everything. And if you cheat, you will get caught. We've already gone after Pennsylvania and ensured that the early voting was extended by 3 days because of improprieties that they were conducting. We're not fooling around. We have volunteers everywhere. We did Trump Force 47 over a year ago, set that up where everybody could volunteer. We have poll watchers that have been trained. We got the low propensity voters that have been identified and touched, meaning they've been contacted, and they have a higher rate of turnout when people speak to them. We are too big to rig. I would say to everybody listening to this, if you want to know how you can still help, go to swampthevoteusa.com, swampthevoteusa.com. You can find your polling center. You can make sure that you are registered to vote, and you can take your friends and family out there. When people ask you, how do you feel it's going, you tell them what you think and then ask them, have you voted? If they need a ride to the polling station, take them. If everybody gets one person to that polling station and ensures that they vote, there's no way that President Trump is losing this. Never, ever forget, my fellow Americans, that there are more of us than there are of them. People who want to keep this republic want the freedom of religion, want the right to carry arms legally, want the opportunity to prosper without the overburdenization of taxes, want to see their Social Security not get taxed, want to see no more tax on tips, want to see a vibrant economy and bring jobs back to this country that we are capable of building that will get all of our rust belt no longer rusty because we will be a vibrant economy again, are voting for Donald J. Trump. And that is why we are positive, because we have the right winning message. Kamala Harris has already shown us the last 3 years and 9 months of this presidency, and it's been a disaster. We don't need any more time to figure out who she is.
Everybody get out and vote. And everybody also be sure to subscribe and share to this really awesome podcast. Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff, you know how much I love you, the 2024 Campaign Executive Director of Veterans for Trump. So great to have you here as Election Day is literally right around the corner. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you too, Rita. I love you too.
And everybody, I'll be back soon with another great edition of Protecting America. And of course, you can catch me every weeknight, 10 p.m. to midnight on the legendary WABC Radio. This is Rita Cosby, and thanks for all you do to protect America.